Welcome to another episode of the STR Sisterhood. I'm your host, Stacey St. John, and I want you to know how absolutely thrilled I am to be spending some time with you today. So thanks for having me into your day. Now, before we jump into this episode, I want to share a quote with you. And it says, surround yourself with people and things that inspire you. Learn everything you can. I think those are fabulous words of advice, and they come to us from English actress Jamila Jamil. Now, in this episode, we are sitting down with Marissa Schulze, and we are talking all things social media. I want to warn you, you are going to want to grab a pen and a notepad because there are so many golden nuggets in here. I know you're going to want to write down. So, push pause if you need to, grab that pen and paper, and let's dive into our conversation with Marissa. So today we are here with Marissa Schulze, and we are going to talk about all things social media for your short-term rental. Marissa, thank you so much for being with us.
Of course. I'm happy to be here.
So before we jump in, tell us a little bit about you. Where are you located in the world? How did you get started in the industry, and take it from there?
Yeah. Right. So I'm Marissa. I am a social media manager and strategist, mostly for short-term rentals is really my niche is what I do, but I also do some business stuff just every once in a while. How I got started. So, as all of us probably who are like in this entrepreneurial field, we didn't like we just made this up as we go. So my degree is actually in education, and I loved teaching, but I loved freedom, I think, a little bit more. And so I started doing social media for nonprofit work. Usually it would just be handed to me because I was the youngest one there. You know, like you can do Instagram, you can do TikTok, right? So yeah, so I started my business, Haymaker Marketing. And did a whole bunch of different niches. I learned a lot. And then eventually I started traveling enough that I really niched into Airbnbs. I saw a gap between like how an Airbnb or short-term rental looks on the listing and then what it looked like on social media. And I saw these hosts making like investing so much into their property, and then their social media looked like like it was not worth any money. Yeah. So I saw that there was a gap. And since I have been a social media manager for so long, I knew that there was a difference between just hiring a photographer to get in there and then also having a social media manager be in there because you need more content. Anyway, so that's where it is. So I live in Colorado. I've grown up here most of my life. Fort Collins area is really where I'm from. And yeah, love to hike, all the Colorado things, right? Rock climb, read. Travel is my main thing, though. I travel quite a lot and trying to be as much digital nomad-y as I can be, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I love it. So talk to us a little bit about your opinion on why you feel like social media marketing is so important for short-term rental hosts in today's landscape. What are your thoughts? Why should it be a priority?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's important, obviously, because it's my job.
That does help, you know.
But what hosts have told me, really, I think that's what matters more even than what I think. Hosts are generally telling me that they are all about they like Airbnb and VRBO, but they're also like, we have no control, we have no power over them of what they're going to do. And so a lot of times they are trying to book direct. They also want a website of their own so that they can book direct. And so they are looking for social media to be another marketing funnel, either to Airbnb, VRBO, or Hostaway, all the things, you know, there's so many, all of them. But they're looking for another funnel to direct people. And that is just good business sense and good marketing. We should all have multiple streams of marketing funnels. But there is another element, I think, as a generation, the Gen Z's growing up with social media as like a major search engine for them. They look on Instagram, TikTok, but TikTok's having a day right now. I know. But they look on there to search and to research, just like we do Google or we did way back when with the yellow pages. So to not have your property on social media, at least in some way, you are missing out on people finding you.
Yeah.
So yes, of course. And there's lots of properties that have changed. It has changed the game for them just being on social media. So,
Sure. I'm curious to get your perspective on content because, again, from your perspective, I heard you say it's so important for hosts to have good content because you saw a gap in the market. They've got these beautiful listings, but their social media looks like it's in the dumps, right? So,
right.
What would you say are some best practices when folks are creating content for social media? What are the things they should be paying attention to?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll go through maybe like what you shouldn't do.
Okay.
That's maybe a great place to start. And then I'll go through when I take on a property and I go visit it, take photos and content. I'll kind of talk you through what I normally do because there's some good tips in there. Because best practices is great, but it's like such a big animal. Social media is unending. I think that's why
it's huge. Yeah.
It's huge. You can go down this for so long, and you have all the hosts that I talk to are like, I don't have time to do this. This is like another job.
Yes.
So, yes. So the things that I see that really make their accounts go from like, ooh, this is a $400 a night place to like, what? This should be like $100 a night place. Is usually they are screenshotting a lot of calendars. And being like, here's the openings I have in my calendar. They usually are doing another blurry screenshot of like becoming a super host is usually one of them. They're using their listing photos, which are great in some ways, but listing photos are wide. They're always usually they're the wrong dimensions for social media. So you'll see them, they'll look a little blurry or they'll look like half of it is cut off. Sometimes I'll see hosts just do features that work on the listing, things that you need, like, hey, it has a washer and dryer, or it has amenities that are important, but nobody actually wants to see the washer and dryer on Instagram.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Hey, if I had a washer and dryer that could fold the laundry and put it away, I would want to see it.
There you go. There you go. Okay, basic washer and dryer, no. If that one exists, yes, let's make a whole Instagram about that washer and dryer. And I would pay big money for that too. Let's do it. AI is happening. Someone can make that happen.
That's right.
Come on. Okay, so these are kind of the don'ts. These are the things that I see that are like, oh, guys, your property is so beautiful. And sometimes I would even visit them. Like, this property is so beautiful. And this feed on Instagram or on Facebook or on TikTok just looks like someone's mom is doing it.
Right.
Like someone's mom is doing it, right? And it's not that feeling of like, ooh, I can't wait to stay here. The storytelling aspect. Okay, so that's probably what I would stay away from. You're not focusing on, a best practice would be to like focus on the storytelling aspect of it. So you're not focusing on the details of your listing. That's fine. A lot of places have washers and dryers. A lot of places have pools. A lot of places have that kind of thing. You want to tell, what does it feel like to have a cup of coffee in the morning and walk outside and see the view? You want to tell the story of like what it's like to sit by the pool and your kids are totally happy and you get to read a book. That is the story that you want to tell. That's what are going to draw people there. Anyone can see a picture on social media of like the layout of your living room. That doesn't mean anything. But if I make you feel a feeling about staying in the property, that changes the game. So if I would do a first practice, storytelling, number one.
Okay. So this is a really, really interesting topic that I want to talk to you about because I struggle with this personally. Like, storytelling, I feel like is such an important skill and it is not ever taught in school.
No.
So what would you say to someone if they said, well, Marissa, that all sounds great, but how in the heck do I tell a story? Like, how do I even know what to write?
Totally. Some practicals that I do to tell a story, right? It's like sometimes we're like, okay, great, that's a lot of, it's like another higher level of thinking, right? Of like,
Mhm.
what does it feel like? Um, Sometimes you can just ask, sometimes I look towards what people say about the property
Mm.
in reviews. That can
Mhm.
kind of be, they're going to say the things that are worth us telling a story. So if they
Mhm.
are talking about the design aspect of it, that's a story to tell. So like
Mhm.
how you chose those things, story, kind of thing, how the specific design style that you chose, why. If they're talking about the view, then that is where your storytelling really comes from. So that's a good marker, is like, what are people actually already saying about your property? Because those are your key things. I'm sure you teach that, Stacey. Oh yeah.
It's new. It's really interesting stuff because I don't,
Okay.
again, like I do feel like social media is such a huge landscape that even someone who's I'm pointing to myself, even someone who's on social media and my business has grown because of social media, I feel like I'm always looking to up my game.
Yeah.
And storytelling, I just wrote a book, okay? Like, and I still don't consider myself a good storyteller. It's not easy. It doesn't come naturally to me.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have to work extra hard in order to be able to tell a story. And I will tell you, I will go back and reread my stories and I'll think, oh, I could have said that differently, or ooh, if I would have said it this way. So that is, you'll see behind me a sign that says progress over perfection.
Yeah.
And I have to always remind myself of that because as someone who wants to share stories, I often feel trapped because I want it to be perfect,
Oh yeah.
So what
Oh
you're
yeah.
sharing is very helpful, even for me.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
And that, if you do deal with perfectionism, that is going to be a major barrier in social media,
Mhm,
100%. It's actually a
mhm.
question that I ask when I'm having a discovery call with a client. I ask them, are you a perfectionist? um, because social media is such a testing platform. Things change quickly. Trends go from like cool to not cool. The idea of like spending so much time perfecting the perfect post is a
Mm,
waste of time. Like you just have to be like, let's try it. Let's try it. So if you do struggle with
yeah.
storytelling in social media, I would say letting go. I love it. Progress over perfection is totally a part of it. So especially if a lot of people have paralysis when it comes to posting, they're like, what's the best? I
Oh,
just
yeah.
say, throw it out there. Like, try it.
Yeah.
The great thing I love about social media marketing that is not like email marketing or anything else is you can literally delete. You can delete it.
It's true.
You can delete it. So it's like, maybe some people saw it. And now there's a new feature. I don't know if you know this about Instagram right now, where you can post a reel and your followers won't see it. It's like a test reel. So you can post a reel and it will shoot out to people that aren't your followers, people that don't know you, to see how it's, you can see how it performs. And if it performs well, you can do a little toggle and it will go on your feed.
Wow.
So that's for the perfectionists out there who are like, I know.
Interesting.
I
I
know.
love that. I
I
love
know.
that.
I know.
Okay. So let's say I'm looking through my reviews and people talk about my views, they talk about my communication, they talk about cleanliness, all being great. All right. Let's say I've done 3 posts, 3 stories, then what? Because we constantly have to be churning out content. And I also think so many people have it in their mind, well, I already posted about that, so I have to come up with something new.
Yep.
Talk to
Yep.
us about this. Is
Yes.
that accurate or what say you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say 2 things about that. That's a very common thing, and it's a thing I feel often. I'm posting, I have 5 social media accounts that I'm running right now, and I'm having to
Yeah.
post the same thing, which is essentially stay at this beautiful place over and over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, in different ways. So, there's 2 remedies to that. One is, building out a huge content base really does change the game. So, hiring a photographer to come in there. That's one of the things that I do, is a content creation stay. I come to the place, I stay, and I set up a whole bunch of scenes. I stay for sunset and sunrise to just have this huge database. That is a huge problem with social media managers. And one of the reasons that I niched into this is because I wanted to be able to build my own content.
Yeah.
So I would say something that you could do is stay at your place for a few days and be like, hey, I'm going to spend 2 days creating content. I'm going to stay there for sunrise and sunset and get as much as I can so that I have something to work with. I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten a client who's been like, I have so many photos for you. I have so many videos. And then they send me like 5 and they're slightly blurry.
Yeah.
And then they're disappointed when the results are not what they want. And it's just me trying to like figure out something in Canva to make it beautiful. So it makes sense. I have that same feeling. So something I would suggest is, hey, go to your property or hire someone to do it if you need to build out a database of content for you. And we can talk more about that, what that looks like and tips. But
I am curious. Sorry, I just want to ask a follow-up question. And
no, please.
This is something that I know someone listening is going to be wondering, well, how much is that going to cost me to do that? Now, I'm not looking for you to throw out a number because I'm sure it's going to depend on how long and where it is and all that kind of fun stuff. But just in practical purposes, if someone were thinking, I want to hire someone to come and build out a content library for me, should they be looking 2 to 3 days? What should they be budgeting from a range perspective for something like that to happen?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I typically do, just so you have it. And I don't mind telling a range. Obviously, it does change based on if it's in France or if it's in Colorado, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So I typically ask for about 5 days in the property. I know that sounds like a lot, but the reason, and I usually come on a weekday, so it's not peak time, is because weather, can change things. Lighting, how much lighting, if it's cloudy, if it's not, that's enough days to have someone there. So 3 to 5 days, you can obviously do it faster if you need to, but if you're wanting a huge database of content, which is what I really like to bring, 5 days is a good amount of time. And then costs are in starting at $1,000 is really where it's starting to pay me to get over there, and to pay for the time there. So I would start thinking around the thousands. And there are other cheaper ways to do it, and I could pitch some of those ideas to you.
Right.
But if you're like, I want to be serious about building some content, you can either do it yourself. That's obviously way cheaper. But if you want someone to do it, it starts, in the thousands to go.
No, I could go and stay in my own property, and I could even set up different scenes. My photographing skills look like a potato to my picture. Okay. So talk to us about what some do's and don'ts are when you're actually physically snapping the photos.
Yes, absolutely. If you know that you're bad at taking pictures, I would focus on video because video converts a lot better on social media anyway. And if you don't have a professional camera, I have a professional camera. That's why the photos look so good.
Right.
If I'm taking them with my iPhone, they look like a potato too.
Yeah.
But I take a lot of my footage on my iPhone, the video footage. So I would focus, Stacey, on video because video also is an easier storytelling aspect. You don't need a beautiful filter. And social media lends to that casual idea. So whether it is, I would focus on video, bringing that cup of coffee to outside, you can follow yourself there. Sit in bed and be reading a book. All of those things work a lot better in video, and you don't need to have the perfect pose or the perfect look. It can just be a very natural thing. So I would focus on video 100%. And if you can't do photos, okay, use your listing photos because you'd had to have those taken. But I would focus on video because it's way easier. It's way easier to make it look natural, more professional.
Okay. And how often would you recommend someone updates their content library?
So when I go out and build a content library, it will last at least for 6 months. at least. It obviously depends on the Airbnb and if seasons change, right?
Sure. Sure.
So if you have a place, so I have a cabin right now in Arizona, and it sometimes gets snow. So we are scouring their databases for snow, but I went in the summer. So there's not a lot of content that is looking really snowy and wonderful and cozy. So if you have that dramatic season change, I would say maybe twice a year. But hello, we're all small business owners. You do what you can with the budget that you have, right?
Right.
So if you can do it once a year, I think it's going to be great. If you have that dramatic season change twice a year might be great. But you work with what you have. So the Pine Chalet is what it's called. It's a beautiful little cabin in Arizona. I've been working on with them for almost 8 months, and I've just done one content creation.
Okay.
So, yep. And we've supplemented. They have some videos of snow that I can like throw in a reel, and I did some pictures of some fireplace. I look for the cozy trends, right? That are not the summer parts, but you can still use them. So, yeah.
All right. I love this. This is so good. So we've talked about a content library, telling stories. I'm curious, from your perspective, what platforms are the most impactful for short-term rental owners and hosts to be on and posting on regularly?
Yeah. So Instagram, I think, is the best because it meets the generations, right? And so that's kind of what we're looking for. Gen Z uses it a bit. Millennials obviously use it a lot. And then boomers, they also are starting to use it as well, right? So if you do Facebook, you're getting a little bit of an older generation. And if that is where your market clientele is coming from, that's where you should go. TikTok has been really helpful, but it's not going to be very helpful in 2025. So I might avoid TikTok right now until we figure out what's happening. But most of the time for my clients, I have them on Instagram and Pinterest first because Pinterest is a great, people search for vacation spots, all of that on Pinterest. Pinterest is a bit of a slow burn marketing. It takes longer for people to find your stuff. But Instagram is great because it hits all those generations and has so many great features like the collaborative feature, which is where you can post a video on 2 people's feeds, well, 3. So I would stick, if you have to do one, Instagram. And then from there, I would look at who is your clientele. Is it the older generation? Then do Facebook. Okay. If you're like, I am marketing to Gen Z, then you need to. I mean, I would have told you to go on TikTok, but right now we'll see what Gen Z does, huh?
That's right. I was going to say after January 6th, and this episode will probably air after January 6th. So, we might have to come back and do a part 2.
Where do we go?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I'd say if another platform does develop to replace TikTok, then jump on that one as fast as you can. So, yeah.
What are your thoughts on, you'll hear social media folks talk about collabing with other businesses in the area. What is your perspective on that? And do you have a favorite way to do that?
Yeah. Collaborations change the game, Stacey. You've probably done some collaborations. They absolutely change the game. So, that's always where I take my clients after I do a content creation visit and then I start posting on their social media. The next part is doing collabs. Collabs change the game. And I know I've kind of done a few surveys on Facebook groups being like, hey, what do you guys think of influencers? What do you guys think of collabs? And usually it's very negative, Stacey. I don't know why. Do you know why?
I think people perhaps are expecting more. I feel like they're expecting to get instant 400 bookings from a collab. And so maybe it's just managing the expectation of what a collab actually does. So let's talk about that. Talk about that. Why does the collaboration change the game? Someone might be listening and going, what is a collab? Let's break it down to the bare basics.
Okay. What is a collaboration? What does it look like? What you can expect? Cool.
Mhm.
So collaboration, most of the time it's on Instagram because Instagram
Mhm.
has a lot more features that make it worth your while. So you can either have a business. So if there is someone like a brewery that is near your cabin, you can say, let's make a post, let's make some content, a video about someone coming from our cabin, coming to your brewery, having a drink, and then coming back. And then let's post it on both of our feeds.
Mhm.
Usually, sometimes there's free collabs where you guys both just agree to do it so that you can get more views and
Mhm.
reach more of a population. And then sometimes you pay someone to do that for you. So this is a lot of influencers, people who have a lot of followers and a lot of engagement. And there's certain metrics that you look for when you're doing that. They can come to your property, stay a few days in exchange for posting reels or carousels if you'd like for either a free stay or you pay them. So those are collaborations. What makes them great is that you are getting a whole different clientele to see your place that would have never
Mhm.
seen it before. So
Mhm.
I love them. They have changed the game. But Stacey,
Mhm.
you are correct. They are not something I find frustrating as a social media manager is so much content out there about Instagram and social media is that it's easy. You can go viral and it's easy. You can
Right.
do this and it's easy. You can do this and it's easy. And I just have to tell you, we too are selling to you.
Right.
Social
Right.
media managers are selling to you, being like, we want to tell you that it's easy because we want you to hire us.
Right.
Um, but it's not easy. It actually is not easy. And
Mhm.
the algorithm, that's what we call it. That's not really what it's called. Is not as fast. And sometimes I've had clients go viral and they haven't gotten a million bookings out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of people saw it. So, yes. Sorry, I don't want to keep talking, Stacey, and then
No.
you not answer.
No, and I think it's important to hear that. I do feel like from an influencer perspective, um, it is extremely important to make sure that the influencer has the audience that you are targeting, right?
Yes.
So again, that could also be a potential reason why people feel like their collaborations or their influencers haven't paid off is they didn't see a bump in bookings right away, but maybe they attracted people who also were never going to book to begin with, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right. And marketing is not always like that quick turnaround, right? There's
Right.
slow burn marketing.
Yeah.
And you know that you have to see something more than once to
Yeah.
actually do anything to it. It's why we get targeted ads when you visit a website for a skincare thing. All of a sudden it's on your Instagram. All of a sudden it's okay because they know that
Yep.
it needs several touch points, right?
Yep.
So you have to think that same way. So someone might have seen your place through an influencer and maybe they saved it and now the algorithm is going to know that they are now interested in your place and now they're going to show their stuff to you and they
Mm.
might need 6 months of seeing that from you to actually be like I want to have my vacation here.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
yeah.
And they may not be planning their vacation right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but suddenly you're saved in their phone. And
Yes.
maybe if they're thinking for that like beach house in Florida, they're like, oh yeah, that one that I saw that influencer went to. So there is slow burn and sometimes there's fast. So you're seeing the fast. So if you're getting followers, if you're getting those views, and sometimes if you're obviously getting bookings,
Yeah.
that does happen. That does happen. But I like to think you want the balance. Of course you want like I would love 40 bookings. But
I
that
wouldn't.
expectation is it's not real.
Not
It usually
reality.
doesn't happen to any of my clients. But the slow burn, the follows, the views, that is what we're going after.
Right.
So yeah.
And so from your perspective, also, what percentage of content should be value based? What percentage should be come book a stay, like a direct response approach? Is there a certain ratio that you like to stick within?
I mean the 80-20 ratio, which works for literally everything.
Mhm.
So I like to do direct sales 20%,
Mhm.
80% just here's this beautiful place, here's a memory that you could have, here's a storytelling feature. Sometimes it can be educational content, like here's where to go in this place in Arizona. All of those are giving to people, and people really love those. At the same time, I always do direct in ways that can get them there faster. So a lot of times I'll do story slides with the link. Often I will do it weekly. So that one is before, because we all want it to be easier to find the link to book.
Right.
And so sometimes I just that part I do as much as I can, just to give them the link to actually go book, because that sometimes that 3-click, right? Click from the post to the profile to the link in the bio will dissuade people. So, 80-20. But of course, you always test it out. But I would say stick to storytelling, stick to beautiful photos, stick to collaborations. Those are the best. And then sell when you can. Yeah.
Sure.
But if it's all like 50%, like 30% off, book now, people hate that stuff eventually. It turns them off, and it makes your property look cheap. Yeah. Eventually. So, yeah.
Now, I'm also curious, you'll hear some people share that on social media, you should answer questions that your guests ask you. What are your thoughts on that? I've heard people say, well, I get asked a lot, is my kitchen stocked with A, B, and C? I'm curious, how do you approach that? Is that valid in your opinion, or should folks stay away from that?
Nope. That's one of the questions I always ask is, what are the guests actually asking you? Because those are social media posts. Now, if they're like, is it a fully stocked kitchen? I'm not going to show a picture of the spices in the cabinet. Maybe I will, but I maybe might show cookies being made.
Yes.
Dinner being made. And then mention it's a fully stocked kitchen. You're not going to have to buy salt and olive oil when you come.
Right.
Okay. So I make it a storytelling aspect. I always think, how did they get to this question? That is the story. How did they get there? Do you have a client I'm working with? It's in Florida, and they're always asked, do you have like pool amenities? Do you have floaties? Do you have snorkel gear? Okay, well, how did they get there? Well, they were picturing their kid snorkeling. So let's start there. Let's start there and tell that story. And then in that way, we tell them, we have snorkel gear available. You can use it. And so it's done.
So we got snorkel gear. So let's talk about that, because I'm curious how you would approach that. So they're picturing their kid snorkeling. I know I want to tell a story about it.
Yeah.
What am I telling a story about? Like, am I making up a story about a kid snorkeling and how that makes me feel? Or how am I approaching that?
Yeah. Okay. The easiest way, and it's a trend right now on social media, is to say POV, point of view. And then you say the feeling. You're at the beach and your kid is happily playing. Okay. That starts. And then I put in more moody language. Right. Right. Like, you finally get time with your kid without any distractions. Okay. That is another feeling that is higher than snorkeling, right? We have snorkeling gear, but like, you finally get to have a moment with your kid without any distractions. Or you see a starfish, that moment when you see a starfish with your kid. Okay. So you could literally just do a pan from a video of your snorkeling gear in your Airbnb. Boring. Right. But you put that feeling on it, that moment that you see a starfish with your kid for the first time. That is storytelling, because we're taking where it's coming from. I want to have a moment with my kid. I want to go snorkeling too. Hey, we have snorkeling gear, so you can do it. Right. Book our place instead of their place, because snorkeling gear is here. Right. Does that make sense?
Boom. Yeah. Mic drop. Yes. Love it. I love it. I think that's awesome. That does help, because it's getting from point A to point B. Okay. I know I need this. I know I'm supposed to do this. Now, how do I do it?
Exactly. So if they're asking you, is it a stock kitchen? Go from why are they asking that? It's because they want to make a family meal together. Okay. So like, let's make a meal in the place and highlight what it looks like. And they're going to see that you have all the things that you need. And then you can put in the caption, we're fully stocked. Here's the things that you have in our kitchen or don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go from the moment of why they did it, and then sell the feelings,
Yeah.
which, yeah.
Okay. Next question I want to ask you is about repurposing content.
Yeah.
And utilizing it across multiple platforms. So let's say you're telling stories for Instagram.
Mm-mm.
Instagram is its own beast,
Yes.
shall we say?
Yes.
Should someone just copy and paste that over to Facebook? Or I know you can link, your Instagram to your Facebook business page.
Yes, you can.
What are your thoughts on, posting content, the same content across multiple platforms?
I'm pro.
You're pro. Okay.
Here's the deal. I could sell you right now and be like, yeah, it needs to be different on each one, but nobody has time for that. Nobody.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that these big organizations that you're seeing that have the most beautiful content have a team of people on
Mhm.
TikTok, on
Mhm.
Instagram, they have graphic designers, they have a whole team of people. So if you are just one person managing 5 Airbnbs, there's no way that you're going to be able to do something different for this and this. Now,
Right.
are there things that you can do to make it better? Absolutely. Yeah. Do
Mhm.
I do them when you hire me? Yes.
Yeah.
But if you are just doing it yourself, yep, you toggle that little button that's going to make it go to Facebook. That is the best resource that you have, because they will automatically reformat it for you so that it looks fine. The issues are usually the format. So like the size. So every social media platform has a different size that they want their images or their videos to be. And they're obviously
Mhm.
not all the same. What the heck?
Right. I mean, if they could make that all the same, our lives would be so much easier, right?
I know. So that can be an issue. You don't want to like put out something that's blurry or totally cut off.
Mhm.
But I use the same content.
Yeah.
On Pinterest, I change it up because keywords really matter. But yeah, nobody has time. Nobody has time
Sure.
to switch them up. So I say use them. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm also curious about if someone is saying, okay, I'm dedicated, I am going to do social media to market my properties. In your opinion, if you were queen of the forest and had a magic wand, how often would you be posting?
Twice a week.
Twice a week. Okay.
Yep. Twice a week is manageable. So what matters more than posting all the time is to be consistent. So you look at the thing at what you can be consistent doing, because
Okay.
the algorithm likes to know that you're an active user. So even if
Mhm.
you're doing, because we get excited and we're like, I'm going to post every day, and that lasts maybe a week,
Mhm.
right? I would stick with 2. So when you work with me, I do 10 posts a month. So it's a little bit more than twice a week.
Mhm.
But that is like a basis to create a beautiful post with storytelling that is not just a random picture, right? That
Mhm.
has keywords
Mhm.
and hashtags and all the things. So yeah, twice a week is what I'd aim for.
Okay.
Because that's doable.
That's doable for most people.
Yeah, it's doable.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. What haven't I asked you about social media that you think is important for short-term rental hosts to know?
Yes. Yes. Something I would love for them to know is sometimes they come to me and they're like, I can't pay you for forever. And I am like, I am with you on that. It's not like a business. It is a business, but not like a big business where it's like we're actively having to do this. So something that I would love hosts to know, if they took 6 months to really work on their social media, to make their feed and their grid look really beautiful, to put the appropriate keywords in there so people can find you. I think it is possible to do that 6 months and then just run ads on your account if you need to. Obviously, it's best to do it ongoing, right? But
Sure.
there's the reality of our lives, right?
Sure.
So I would love for hosts. So some people come to me and they're like, this is an expense I can no longer do. But
Mm.
even just, it's so valuable just to have that beautiful feed so that
Mhm.
people can find you and they're not turned away by you if they see you on Instagram, and they might search forward. But yeah, and then run some ads on it. I would say do
Interesting.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard that approach, but I love it. It does feel more more palatable, I'm sure, if someone is investing in, utilizing a service like yours where, it may not, as we have talked about, it may not instantly result in, hey, I've got a 40% increase in bookings because I now have this beautiful Instagram feed.
Yep.
But I love the approach of investing and building a beautiful feed and then running ads to it.
Yep.
I love that.
Or my host they'll keep the feed so it looks beautiful, and then they'll just do stories by themselves, because stories are a little bit more casual. If they're at the property and you see a deer, great.
Yeah.
That makes it a little bit so your account is still running, but your feed already looks really beautiful. So it's an option that I wish hosts would think about, instead of being just like saying, no, I can't do it. There's no way that I can keep that. Social media managers are expensive. We're expensive.
Yeah.
It's because it's a lot of work, and not every social media manager can do so much. So yeah, I wish they would consider that, at least to have a good base for their presence on social media. Yeah.
So good. Okay, Marissa, this has been so fun. I want to move to the lightning round. Okay.
Oh, okay, great.
So I'm going to ask you some questions and ask you to answer with the very first thing that comes to mind. First question is, where is your favorite place to vacation?
Iceland.
What?
Yeah. Have you ever been?
I have never been, but I don't like being cold. So
yes, but do you like feeling like you're on a different planet? Because that's what Iceland
really,
like. Yeah.
I like feeling like I'm on a different planet in the Caribbean.
Yeah. Okay.
In the ocean, in the warmth.
I would go there too. Yeah, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I love it. Yeah.
And so, how many times have you been?
3 times.
Wow.
Iceland is a great, if you're going to Europe, I really love Europe. It's a great stopover place. So Iceland did a big push. So if you're looking for flights, see if you can go through Iceland, stay a few days in Reykjavik, go see some cool waterfalls, and then go in a hot spring. There's hot springs, Stacey. So at least that part.
Yeah, okay. Right.
But I like sun too, so I'm with you. But I think it's just like the most crazy place in the world. So yeah.
That's so fun. What a unique answer. Okay. Next question. What's one place you've never been that you want to visit?
This year, I would really love to go to Croatia. If you've ever.
Okay.
Croatia is like, Europeans go to Croatia for their holiday. And some of Mamma Mia was filmed in Croatia. I don't know if you've seen Mamma Mia.
You know what? We were just talking about Mamma Mia and watching it a few weeks ago. I did not watch it, but Croatia is actually a big film hub. There's a lot of films that are filmed in Croatia because their costs are lower, right?
Yeah. Beautiful beaches. Stacey, I want to know the answer for you for all these questions. I'm like, one-sided.
Well, I've never answered my own questions. That's kind of funny. I'll have to do that sometime.
Yeah, you will.
Well, I just got back from the Caribbean. I was in the Caribbean for 2 weeks. I absolutely love the Caribbean. Like I came back home to Ohio. I'm like, I think I could move to the Caribbean, right? We could do short-term rentals and see kids. We could do that. Yeah. Yeah, that's my favorite place. One place I've never been, let me think about this, that I want to visit. I think I would say I have multiple team members who live in South Africa. Cool. And so I would love to visit South Africa. They've shared with me how beautiful the country is. And we've been talking about going there in 2026. So we'll see.
That would be incredible. And with someone there to like show you around, it'd be even better. That's always the best, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Insider.
All right. What's one thing you know now that you wished you knew when you were starting out in the world of social media for short-term rentals?
Yeah. Something that I wish I knew. Probably to just keep going. Keep going. I remember when I started this, I have a friend with a short-term rental, and I just pitched to her like, hey, would you ever hire someone to do social media for your little place here in Northern Colorado? And she said, honestly, Marissa, no. She's like, I would never do that. It's like too much of an expense. I don't think so. And so
Mhm.
it was a little bit discouraging, but guess
Mhm.
what? People will hire me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would just say, hey, keep going. And even if really honest people, I really appreciate my friend saying that to me because it gave me some, oh, I gotta learn.
Mhm.
I gotta learn some more.
Right.
There's probably a niche in that, in the
Mhm.
niche. Just keep going. What would you say, Stacey, to yourself?
Oh gosh. One thing I wished I know now that I wished I knew. I would say now I am coming at it from a property management perspective, not
Yeah.
a social media perspective.
Yes.
But one thing that I know now that I wished I knew when I started is that you don't have to know everything in
Yes.
order. I learn stuff every day.
Yes.
And again, I am a recovering perfectionist. So I always want everything to be right.
Yes.
That's the way that I roll. And so when I started out, I originally felt very overwhelmed because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm brand new and I have to learn so much and I have to do it all perfectly,
Yes.
And so I very quickly realized, hey, wait a minute, I could be creative and think about I had to build a team because I worked full time.
Yeah.
At when I started out. And so I started building a team around me and I started using my leadership skills that I was using in the corporate world on the leadership team and applying them to my short-term rental business. And
Yeah.
through that, I realized, you know what? I don't have to know everything. I need to use my God-given talents and my work experience and learn along the way, but apply the skill sets I already have and
Yes.
leverage that.
Yes. I love it. And I think sometimes as women, sometimes we also second guess.
Oh,
Like, I
totally.
can't do this. I'm not competent. I think
Oh,
I
yeah.
read a study somewhere where like men will apply for jobs when they can't even do half of the things on the
Right.
like skills list. And that women they never, if they can't do one of them, they won't apply.
Right.
And
Right.
it's like actually just being like, I don't have to know everything and
Yep.
go for it. Yes.
Yep.
I
Yep.
choose yours, Stacey. That's
Okay,
amazing.
good. Okay, good. This is so fun. I've never answered my own questions. This is fun. Okay. Next question is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
About marketing? I'm just going to do one about
Anything.
marketing.
No, anything.
Yeah, I had a lady reach out to me and I was doing a hashtag offer at the time. And she said, you need to post about this so much that you are sick of it. Like you think, like it almost makes you feel ill to post again. Because she's like, by that point, people will actually know what your offer is. And people will just start noticing. And they'll be like, oh yeah, you offer that. And she's like, but you're going to feel like I've posted about this so many times. That was the best. And I use it on all of the properties
that's
that I
really
do.
good advice.
Yeah, post about it. Even though you think I've posted about the hot tub so many times, people actually have only looked at your post for like 30 seconds. Maybe.
Right.
So, yeah. What would you? I want your answer, Stacey. I'm
Best
learning from
piece
you.
of advice I've ever been given. I have to think. Okay, best piece of advice. I feel like the best piece of advice I've ever been given was from my mom. And I will never, ever, ever forget this. She sat me down in high school because she heard me call one of my friends hun. I don't even know what I was saying, but I called one of my friends hun. And my mom sat me down at the kitchen table and reamed me a new one. And she was like, don't you ever call anyone hun. Now, that is not the piece of advice. Okay.
Yes.
The piece of advice is you never treat anybody differently. It doesn't matter where you are in life, where they are in life. You are the same person to everyone every day. And I remember at the time, I was probably 16 years old. I was bawling. Like, she was reaming me a new one.
Okay.
And the way moms can do.
Yep.
And I remember at the time I was very upset, mad, and how teenage girls can be mad at their mom that they called them out. But that has always stuck with me and it has always served me well in life. And now I look at other people and I think the same way. Like, I really dislike when I see other people, even on social media, like touting themselves. And I don't know what the best way to say it. It's like, just be who you are, be authentic, and be kind to everyone. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Don't
life
treat
is
other
too
people like
short.
you're better than them. Yeah.
No,
Because
Yeah.
you're not. We're
You're not.
all just working.
You're
through
not.
it. Yeah.
Exactly.
I like your mom.
I know. She's pretty
Yeah.
amazing. She was pretty amazing. She passed away so many years ago. And,
Sorry.
oh, thank you. At the time, it was obviously very hard, and it's still hard. But now I have a relationship with my mom. She's just in heaven,
Yeah.
and I can hear, some of the things that she said to me over the years when I was growing up. I hear them in a different way. I don't get to talk to her, like normal, like call her on the phone, but I still am able to have conversations with her.
Yep.
And the good Lord above. So
Yep. And I know my mom died in my 20s of cancer. So I know what you're saying. Yep. And sometimes those moments that you had with your mom become really even stronger. Like this, where you're like, I remember when you kicked my butt and how important that was. So yes, I'm with you, Stacy. That's amazing.
Okay. All right. Last question. What is one thing and or person that you're grateful for today?
Thing or person? Yeah. I have a really great friend named Harmony. I'm really grateful for. She is amazing. She is one of those women who's like, I'm in my 30s and I'm not married. I don't have kids, which I think is great, but she's always like, just go for it. Just do your business. Just like, you don't have to live just the picket fence life. And I appreciate that so much. She's awesome. Yeah. How about you?
And her name is Harmony.
Her name is Harmony.
Her name, I sing. So I sing in an a cappella quartet. And so I sing a harmony part. So I really like her name.
Oh, yeah, it's great. Her parents were hippies. That's how she got her name.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Who's someone you're
Let's see here. I have so many things and so many people that I'm grateful for. I would say in a general sense today, like this very moment, I am incredibly grateful for the people on my team. Like I have teams of people in my property management business. I have teams of people in my coaching and consulting business, and I could not do what I do without them. Yeah. Right? They make my world go round. And I'm very, very grateful for having amazing people in my life who are equally as passionate about delivering great experiences or great content or whatever the case might be. Again, I couldn't do what I do without them. So,
yep. Right? Anyway, we need people. We do.
Need people. Marissa, this has been so fun. If people want to find out more about you or contact you to find out about your services, where is the best place for them to find you online?
Instagram, right? I'm the social media manager. So the business is called Haymaker Marketing, and you can find me just by typing that in. On my website is haymakersocial.com. You can reach out, ask me any questions, DM me, say like, we listened to Stacy's, I have a question about this. So I'd love it.
Love it. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yes, of course.
Now, before you go, I want to give a quick shout out to some of the amazing women inside the Female Short-Term Rental Investors Facebook group. Just a few days ago, Sarah Weiss posted, I need high quality, heavy blackout drapes and window shades. Any suggestions on where to look? And we've had 9 women jump in and share some ideas. Christina Webb says, I bought a pair of the hotel grade ones from Home Depot. And Sonia says, same. They are wonderful quality. Shelley Weichel says, we have blackout drapes from Amazon at one house and blackout cellular shades from Lowe's for another. Both work great. Chelsea Cutver says Amazon has really good ones that look high end. And Janelli Rentals says find a store that sells Hunter Douglas. Such great ideas, ladies. I know they will continue to roll in. Sarah, thank you so much for asking the question. And that wraps up today's episode. I hope you have a phenomenal week ahead, and I will see you very, very soon.